public hearing is called to order at 2 minutes past 6 on Tuesday, December 22nd of 2020. This hearing is being held as required by the provisions of Chapter 131, Section 40 of the General Laws of the Commonwealth and Act relative to the protection of the wetlands, as most recently amended. Notice of the time and place of this hearing was published in the Advocate on December 17th of 2020. It's also posted in the town clerk's office. Persons wishing to be heard will be called in the following order. Before I do that, I do want to clarify for folks that are tuning in for probably their first Conservation Commission meeting ever. My name is Robert Roach. I'm the chair of the commission. We have members Heidi Pelletier, Ryan Resendiz, and Everett Filla all tuning in, along with our agent, Marilee Kelly, and also Joanne DeMello, who is our administrative assistant. She probably has a better title than that, but she does a whole lot of stuff for us behind the scenes, gets minutes ready and all of that. And I see that we have Rich Riccio here from Field Engineering, and the Batchelder.Devin is here as well, representing a project. And I'm guessing some of you are neighbors and some of you are speaking out on behalf of projects. So what I will do is I will go item by item through the agenda. I'm going to ask that folks be on mute, except for my commission members, my agent, until we get to your item on the agenda. Then after that, if you have a question or a comment, what I typically do is I will ask our agent for comments and questions first to discuss with the engineer or the proponent of a project. Then I will check in with commission members after that. And then once we feel like we've had our commentary, then we will ask for questions and clarifications from folks that are tuning in for a specific item. So we thank you in advance for your patience with this process, and we're ready to move along. So the first item is minutes for approval from December 8th of 2020. I've had a chance to look at those. I don't have any changes to suggest. I don't know if Heidi or Ryan or Everett have anything they'd like to add or change.
I looked them over and they looked fine to me.
Okay.
Agreed.
In that case, I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
So moved.
That's a motion from Everett. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Second from Ryan. Heidi, is that a yes from you to accept? And Ryan and Everett, by the fact you made the motion, that's yes from you, so that's unanimous. I say yes as well, so thank you. Next item on the agenda, meeting mail. Marilee, do we have any meeting mail?
Oh, we did get another letter from the Division of Marine Fisheries. Just, they just sent it to us as well about the Hamlin Street project, and, expressing their concern about the fish weirs. But it wasn't addressed to us. It was addressed to the people who are doing the project at Mass DOT.
Anything else?
No, that's it for mail.
Okay. Not a surprise at this time of the year. I see no old business. So we're going to move on to new business. The first item, we have an NOI BWC Mill Pond LLC off Gammons Road and Mattapoisett Road. File number SE001. I guess we don't have a file number yet because I see X's on the agenda. A notice of intent was filed by BWC Mill Pond LLC for property located off Gammons Road and Mattapoisett Road, map 10, lots 1.2, 1A, 3A, and 3, map 9, lot 32. The applicant proposes to construct a solar power generating facility on parcels. Portions of the work, including the proposed access drive, stormwater management facilities, and tree clearing areas, are located within the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands located on the subject parcels. The applicant is represented by Richard Riccio of Field Engineering Company Incorporated, Plan name is Proposed Solar Array BWC Mill Pond LLC, dated October 21 of 2020. Mr. Riccio, the floor is yours.
Good evening, members of the commission. I'm going to share my screen if that's okay.
Hopefully you have those privileges. If not, I'll ask Acushnet Cable to give those to you.
Oh, it looks like it's working out here to me.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep. This is a large parcel of land located along the Mattapoisett town line in Acushnet. If you recall, last year we actually permitted tree clearing on this parcel, which has not been completed yet. It was a large project that we permitted for the landowner. We're now working for the solar developer in permitting the proposed array. This is a 6.2 megawatt array, just over almost 15,000 solar panels on the parcels. The fenced area is approximately 24 acres, and all of the fenced area is outside of the 100-foot buffer zone to the wetlands. There's no equipment, no portions of the solar array itself within the 100-foot buffer zone. We do have areas of stormwater management within the buffer zone shown on the east and the western side of the array. And you can also see the proposed tree line. We actually respected the 50-foot buffer for the entire project, with the exception of the discharge of the westerly array as a small, less than 1,000 square feet encroachment into the 50-foot buffer. I'm actually going to, I think I can switch to a different plan. Give me 1 second. This plan here is showing the red dashed line was the limits of work that were approved under the previous order of conditions for the project back last year for the project site, excuse me. And then this bluish line that's following the tree line is the expansion of the limits of work that is required for the solar array. As you can see, for the most part, we're maintaining, actually, we're following the same line along the easterly and westerly side of the array, with the exception of the stormwater management facility here. And as I said, there's a small encroachment into the 50-foot wetland buffer here. Access to the site is through an existing gravel road that comes in through the town of Mattapoisett. We will be filing a notice of intent with the town of Mattapoisett's Conservation Commission for improvements to this road, as it does go through an existing wetland system. It's an old farm road that was used to access this property. But all the work associated with the improvements to that road is in the town of Mattapoisett and would be covered under their notice of intent. Stormwater management is designed in accordance with the standards, DEP. We've tried to follow all the DEP guidance documents with regards to citing the solar facilities in the jurisdictional, well, the buffer zone areas to the project. That basically summarizes the project. I'd be happy to take any questions. I am aware we don't have a DEP file number yet, but hopefully we can discuss the commission's comments and questions.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Riccio. Agent Kelly, questions, comments from you?
How does the stormwater work? Can you explain it a little bit?
Okay. Yes, I'm going to go back to the color up plan here. Basically, what we have is the solar array itself. We're not changing any of the grades on the site on the subject parcel. So there's a ridge line that runs through the center of the project. The topo splits, the runoff goes either to the east or to the west. to the surrounding wetlands. The detention areas that have been designed are to reduce the rates of runoff to these wetlands, which comes from the clearing of the trees and the planting of what will end up being a meadow underneath the solar array. The gravel road itself has a crushed stone edge drain infiltration trench that'll intercept the water that flows across the drive from the array. And that also has a piping component that will discharge into this detention area here. The detention basin has outlet control structures or outlet control culverts that will control the rates of runoff leaving the site. During construction, we have obviously we have the perimeter stormwater controls, silt fence and straw wattles around the project. And given the size of the clearing areas, we're also proposing intermediate rows of straw wattles through the section of the array, through the array itself to slow down any runoff that runs through there during construction. The site's not too, it's pretty flat out there, if you recall when we were out there last year. So we don't anticipate a lot of high velocity runoff coming off of the array. But we did incorporate intermediate erosion controls within the array itself. Finally, upgradient of each stormwater basin, we do have another row of wattles and silt fence to protect those basins that would stay in place until the site stabilized with vegetation.
Great.
Great.
And what will make it a meadow? You said it would be a meadow.
The grass, well, the seed mix that we're proposing out here is I believe it's a clover mix with pollinating species that they'll allow just to grow and vegetate naturally. It would only be mowed on occasion, once or twice a year, if that. Once it's fully vegetated, and it would just basically be allowed to become like a pollinating habitat for bees and butterflies. And the other thing that we incorporate, the fence is raised 6 inches off the ground, which will allow the migration of any small wildlife that would be coming through the site to be able to basically have free reign of the array area. As these arrays, they're only visited on an as needed basis by maintenance personnel, so they basically stand alone out there with minimal disturbance. The only other thing I didn't mention during the initial presentation is this array. If you notice, the rows are actually running north-south, as opposed to the typical arrays we've previously proposed and permitted, which ran east-west. These are on a tracker foundation system, which allows the panels to move with the sun over the course of the day. Gets much more efficiency out of the panels. And the other additional feature on this array is this will have an energy storage compartment, which is located outside of any of the buffer zones to the wetlands, which the state is now requiring under their new permit program, the new SMART program.
Great. Okay, so what does the base look like of that? It's not the helical anchors that some of them use, is it?
It'll be a driven. It's either a helical or a driven post, like an I-beam, that would get driven into the ground.
Oh, so you don't need a big concrete base.
No, there wouldn't be any concrete. The only concrete would be at the location of the concrete, the equipment pads. These would just be driven posts into the ground. Depending on what the geotech shows out there would determine the depth of embedment they need for the posts, whether they drive them 4 feet or they may have to go down 6 or 8 feet, depending on what they have for material out there. I'm assuming it's a pretty tight till, so they probably won't be needing to go 8, 10 feet down like they would if it was a looser type material.
Uh-huh.
Right.
Cool.
Heidi, Ryan, or Everett, were you out of the site? Have any comments or questions for Mr. Riccio? Or just in general?
What's the lifespan of a solar panel?
They have a 20-year lease on the property itself. The panels, I mean, the technology is improving almost on it seems like a monthly basis with the efficiency of them. But the intent would be for this to operate for 20 years, whether they have to replace panels or repanel the site for if they get much more efficient panels down the road. That's remains to be seen. But the site would be, the intent is for it to operate for 20 years.
Okay.
Yeah. And this is Josh Laracy from Blue Wave Solar, working with Rich on the project. Just to clarify that question a little too, as Rich said, the intent for the most projects is an initial 20-year operating period. As Rich mentioned, panels have gotten pretty efficient over the years, and their degradation isn't as significant as it might have used to been. So typically projects, we plan for 20-year operating period in terms of initially, but we expect the panels in terms of their actual lives to be longer than that, more on the order of 30, 35 years is what's expected. And then, as Rich mentioned, there may be a point in the future where a project owner could decide to replace modules depending on how they've degraded or what the wattages for panels are at that time.
All right. And the material that these panels are made out of, galvanized steel, or in the H beams or I beams that you're using for the foundation, are they galvanized or are they just regular mild steel?
So
I believe
yeah,
they're,
go ahead, Rich.
yeah, go ahead, Josh. You can go
Or I was
ahead,
gonna
Josh.
say,
You
yeah,
know what?
the racking would be steel, but in terms of the modules themselves, the modules will all be framed modules, and in some instances the modules will be framed, or in most instances with aluminum, but the racking itself will be steel. Yeah.
Okay, that's all I got.
Thank you. Heidi or Everett?
No, I'm pretty Mitch all set on this, Bob.
Okay. So, Mr. Riccio, Mr. Laracy, just to clarify, the fenced area is outside of the buffer zone. It's the stormwater management areas that are inside, correct?
Correct. And so a little portion of the access drive, if you see it, if you look at the screen, this buffer zone here is right along the town line. So there's a small portion of the access drive that would be in the buffer zone.
Okay. I'm gonna now see if is there anybody that's tuned in that has not spoken that has a question for Mr. Riccio or for Mr. Laracy for the commission? And if so, please identify yourself and then you can ask the question. Okay. I'm not hearing or seeing anything, so I guess this is one of the least controversial projects of our night. That being said, and no further comments from our agent.
Don't have a file number.
Okay, so we have to pass on this until our next meeting, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So, gentlemen, thank you both for your comments on this, and I will accept a motion to table this until we receive a file number.
So moved.
Thank you, Everett. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Ryan. Heidi, how do you vote? Heidi, is that a yes from you?
Yeah, yes.
Thank you. Everett, yes.
Yes.
And Ryan?
Yes.
So that's unanimous. Thank you all. Appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Riccio and Mr. Laracy.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Chair. Hope everyone has a happy holidays, Merry Christmas,
You too.
and Happy New Year. And we'll see you in January.
See you in January. Super.
Sounds good. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Okay, next item, we have a COC for GDC Development LLC for 1428 Main Street. A certificate of compliance was filed by GDC Development LLC for property located at 1428 Main Street, map 5, lot 6A. The applicant proposed to construct a single-family dwelling with associated grading and septic system. Somebody here to speak on behalf of this project. Early, what do we know about this project?
We were there on Saturday. It looks finished. Looks like it's been finished for a long time, actually. It looks good.
Okay. Anybody else that was there like to comment?
Yeah, it looks done to me. I see no reason not to award this COC.
Okay, that's always good news. So, is anybody, a neighbor, if you're not going to speak on this issue, I'll have you mute yourselves, please. Otherwise, if you do have a question or a comment for this project, please identify yourself and we'll accept your question or comment. Hearing no commentary, I'll accept a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for 1428 Main Street.
Make the motion for 1428 Main Street COC.
Thank you, Everett. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Heidi. Ryan, how do you vote?
Yep.
Heidi,
Yes.
Everett,
Yes.
and that's unanimous from me. Thank you very much. Next item, we have an NOI for Janelle and Christopher Ciano, 52 Morris's Lane. We don't have a file number for this one either, so this will be an informational discussion. And if anybody who's tuning in for this is curious, file numbers come from the Department of Environmental Management for the state. And until a file number is issued, a project can certainly be discussed and explained, but votes from a local conservation commission cannot take place. Notice of intent was filed by Janelle and Christopher Ciano for property located at 52 Morse's Lane, map 17, lots 24, 24B, and 24C. The applicant proposes to construct a 5 megawatt ground mounted solar energy generating and storage system. The applicant is represented by Brandon Smith of Borrego Solar Systems Incorporated. Plan name is Site Use Permit Set dated December 10 of 2020. Mr. Smith or anybody from Borrego here for the, Mr. Smith, I see your name on the screen. Turn it over to you.
Hi, good evening. Are you able to see me?
Oh,
Cannot see you.
Oh, there we go.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Yes, good evening. My name is Brandon Smith. I'm the civil engineer with this project with Borrego Solar. Also on the line with us is Ryan Bailey, the project developer, also with Borrego Solar for this project. This, if I may share my screen,
Please do.
I will. All right, so this project is located on a parcel of land, assessor's lot 20, or I'm sorry, parcel 24, 24B and 24C, north of Morse's Lane. So you'll see here, you can see kind of Google Maps, the project is located in this wooded area east of Route 140. Morse's Lane runs here. And the project, this red line that you'll see is the project fence location. So that's where that's located. This, let me just switch over to kind of a view showing the project. So this project, the site has been delineated by BSC for natural resources. Wetlands have been located and delineated on the site. Those are indicated on this map in this kind of teal color, there's a central wetland complex that runs throughout the site, as well as 2 vernal pools located and delineated on the site. The actual system that we're proposing is very similar to what you just heard and what other systems that you've heard. Consists of approximately 17,000 modules mounted onto galvanized steel racking with an augered screw foundation. So this system is a traditional fixed tilt, not a tracking system. So you'll notice the rows run east to west. The system will be accessed via a gravel access road. It comes up from, there's actually an existing driveway coming up from Morris's Lane. We'll be utilizing that. So we're not actually constructing anything down here other than electrical equipment, MV trench, that type of thing. But the actual road construction will branch off of that and begin here at this location and run west into the site. We will have a compacted earth perimeter road around the site as required by the Acushnet Fire Department. And the whole system will be surrounded by a 7-foot chain link fence with a 6-inch gap at the bottom for wildlife, small animals to be able to move about freely. Also, you'll notice these kind of lighter color, these rectangled areas. There are 2 equipment pads that also include energy storage components to the system. The layout for this project, so we have, you may remember there's another Borrego project, Mendel Road project that we have had. We used a very similar layout structure where we did not encroach anywhere on the site within the 50-foot buffer of any resource, wetland or vernal pool. So all work would be outside of that kind of 50 to 100-foot buffer. It's split between shade management areas, which would just be tree cutting, leaving the stump. It's kind of, minimizing earth disturbance there. And then, sort of split between that and inside the fence, which would require the removal of stumps. Let's see here, you'll see this. So as far as tree clearing goes, just to make it clear, because it's a little bit hard on this plan, this central wetland area will remain wooded. So, we're not clearing within the 50-foot buffer of this wetland system, which is why you have kind of this, we have this split kind of east and west array, but still combined would be the 5 megawatts that this project is. Other than that, just to touch on the interconnection, it's all underground from the system running down to Morse's Lane, all underground and MV trench. There is an existing crossing here with some culverts. We'll be trenching there, but again, within the road and immediately, covered back up, and that likely is all done in one day. There are 7 utility poles proposed down towards the south, towards Morse's Lane, but that's outside of any wetland buffers. Stormwater, just to touch on stormwater, we have done submitted a stormwater report, looked at the site, and because of the change in cover type from wooded to a meadow type cover underneath the solar panels, we will be installing roadside swales along the access road and the perimeter road to capture kind of runoff that's coming off the array, catch that runoff and transport it to the south of the site. The general topography runs to the south, where we'll have a basin in this kind of the southeast corner of the site, this basin with an outlet control structure to ensure that any discharge from the site, mimics the pre-existing discharge that the site's seeing, as it's currently wooded. Other than that, yeah, be happy to open up to any questions that the commission may have.
I'm going to anticipate a question that Mary Lee is going to ask me. Have you provided the stormwater calculation to the commission for this?
Yes.
Okay, I haven't had a chance to look at anything yet. Thank you. Okay, Mary Lee, over to you.
What does the red line signify?
That's the system fence.
Oh, okay. So,
You said
so what are
7
the
foot high
nodes?
with 6 inches under.
Correct.
So, and the nodes there are posts on the fence?
Well, those are diagrammatic, so this is not exactly where they will be. But the posts are generally driven on the straight sections, driven posts every 10 feet with like a concrete footing on the post at the corners or gates.
I see. And what's going on the ground underneath the array?
Yep, underneath the array. So we will reseed this. We are proposing a pollinator-friendly mix, an Ernst pollinator mix, kind of a low-grow wildflower mix for the site for any disturbed areas.
Wow. Okay. And it's going to remain wooded around the vernal pools, right?
Yes, so the southeastern vernal pool, we're not encroaching anywhere there, anywhere within the buffer whatsoever. This northern one, you can see this blue line is the 100-foot buffer. So again, we're not encroaching within the 50-foot buffer of that, but there is some proposed work within the 100-foot.
And just to clarify, so all that pink on the diagram, that's all erosion control? Is that what that is?
I'm sorry, I should have kind of gone over what everything is here. The pink is actually the property line.
Okay.
But yeah, as far as erosion controls go, we are going to be utilizing a combination of silt fence and stump grindings, which we've had a lot of success with on other solar sites. Obviously, it's going to be a lot of material to be able to use and really make sure that there's no sediment being tracked off site. So those perimeter controls will be in place.
All right, so that's a new one. How are stump grindings installed? How are they used?
So they're ground, on site. There'll be a grinder on site, and then they basically place them in long rows, typically 2 to 3 feet high, kind of a couple feet wide. So it'll be almost like a small berm that allows water to pass through it. It's kind of like stump grinding, so very similar to wood chips in a way.
Mhm.
So it allows that water to pass through, but traps a lot of the sediment.
Okay, anybody from the commission with questions for Mr. Smith or the other person here for this project?
I have just a quick question. Any chance of getting those vernal pools certified?
Yeah.
That's something that we could do as a commission. Of course, we'd have to, I noticed that the Siennas have tuned on to this. I think the Siennas would need to let us onto the property to do that. And if you'd like me to explain the process, I can certainly do that now.
Sure.
I'm asking the Siennas if they're willing to hear that. John or Christopher, I don't know which one our viewers on, or both of you. So anyway, so to certify a vernal pool, it has, and if the Smith, if Mr. Smith's organization is telling us that this is a vernal pool, then they either have seen evidence of obligate breeding species, which means spotted salamander, marble salamander, or wood frogs, or both. And we would need to get there just to take some photos during March, April, May to show presence of eggs. And if we really time it well and we can actually see some of the adult animals going in to breed to lay the eggs, and then see some other evidence of animals of those animals nearby. And I think that would be a good thing for this project. And certainly it's a good thing for documentation of natural resources in the town. So hopefully property owners will be amenable to that. Doesn't cost any money. And I actually find that process to be a lot of fun. It's a good excuse to go for a walk in the woods.
Yeah, we could definitely discuss that with the landowners, and
Okay.
I assume that can be a condition of the project if needed.
Mr. Smith, I think to make it easier for me to see if somebody would like to call, I'm gonna have you stop screen sharing. Just so I can see gallery view again. Because there may be folks who want to ask questions.
Yeah, if I can figure out, here we go. All right.
Super. So is there anybody that's tuned in that would like to ask a question or get some clarification on this project? If so, unmute, identify yourself, and ask your question.
There is one thing I'd like to add.
Go ahead, Marilyn.
This project is 400 feet from the next project in the same area. Literally, there's 400 feet between them on the Park Drive and this one. Just so that you have an overview.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
I knew it was close.
So any questions or comments from the audience then?
Nobody.
Right. Okay, in that case, I'll entertain a motion to table this vote until we have a file number from DEP. And if I think I said Department of Environmental Management, or what I should have said is Department of Environmental Protection. Clarify that for the record. Somebody want to make that motion to continue?
So moved.
Thank you, Everett. Do we have a second? Thank you, Heidi. Ryan, how do you vote?
Yes.
Heidi? That's a yes. And Everett?
Yes.
That's unanimous. Thank you for that. Thank you, Mr. Smith. And I believe Mr. Bailey was tuned in for this as well, so thank you both.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay,
Yeah, have happy holidays, Merry Christmas.
yep. Stay dry Christmas Day. It's going to be a wet one.
Yeah, talk to you in January.
All righty. Next item, we have an NOI, White's Farm Incorporated, off Park Drive, file number SE 001-0553. So this one does have a file number. A notice of intent was filed by White's Farm Incorporated for property located off of Park Drive, map 17, lot 22B.13. Excuse me. The applicant proposes to install a solar photovoltaic, otherwise known as a PV array, consisting of 4,999 kilowatts and battery storage project within the 100-foot buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland. The applicant is represented by Mel Higgins of Weston and Sampson Engineers. Plan name is Park Drive Solar PV Development dated December 10 of 2020. And if there's somebody here from Weston and Sampson, the floor is yours.
Yes, good evening, everyone. I'm not Mel Higgins, but Rob Bukowski representing Sincarfa. We have Annie Jung and Rachel Clare from Sincarfa online. And in addition, we've got Devin Batchelder and Melinda Costello from Weston and Sampson. So if I can share my screen, that will probably help, and I can share the plans.
Yeah, sure, Cable can give you that permission.
Yep, got it right here. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, can everybody see this?
Yes.
Okay, great. So the proposal is for a 7.5 megawatt solar PV array with battery storage off of Park Drive. This is the site here. Park Drive is located down at the bottom. The site is predominantly wooded. There is a cleared area that comes off of Park Drive. It's a relatively flat site. It is surrounded by wetlands. It's probably a little hard to see on the screen, but these grayscaled flags represent the wetland areas. So we've got 3 separate arrays. There's a northern array here, there's a middle array here, and there's a western array here. Each individual array will be, excuse me, surrounded by its own fence. Access, as I mentioned, will be off of Park Drive. The existing access that's there now will be improved into a gravel road. So the gravel road will be built up so that each array can be accessed during and after construction. There is an existing utility easement, overhead utility easement that basically bisects the site. It comes right in through here. The interconnection, which is the location where the PV array actually feeds in the utility, will be within that easement. So there are no new poles proposed down by Park Drive. The wetlands, as I mentioned, sort of surround the site. They're located here to the east, to the west. There is a perennial stream further to the east, and we are well outside of the 200-foot riverfront area there. For the most part, the array is within some of the buffer zones. To the west side of this northern array, we tried to keep 100 feet away. There are some areas to the east and in some other areas where we are definitely within the buffer zone. There are also some direct wetland impacts just for the, oops, sorry about that, for the access road itself. Sorry, my computer's a little bit slow in processing this. But this access road here that heads over to the western array does go through some of the wetlands. So the arrays themselves and the fenced areas are all outside of the actual bordering vegetated wetlands, but the access road does go into it. So as part of this, we're proposing to replicate greater than the area that we're disturbing in wetlands. So it's 4,437 square feet of disturbance, and we're proposing to replicate 4,700 square feet. Stormwater is managed by 4 separate basins. There are 2 located to the north of this western array. There's a basin here for the central array, and then there's a basin here on the western array. That's for post-construction stormwater management, and the calculations for this were included with the NOI. Excuse me, but for construction phase, we're proposing, similar to the other 2 applicants that you just heard, we're actually proposing straw wattles for sort of perimeter, not exactly perimeter, but near the perimeter, just to prevent any erosion into the wetland areas that surround the site. We're also proposing a construction exit down by Park Drive so that any construction vehicles that do end up getting any kind of silt or mud that gets into the tires, it'll be kicked off before they get out onto Park Drive and any public roads. The battery storage I mentioned is located right here, sort of in the center, just north of this overhead utility easement that runs east-west through the site. So that's a general overview of the project. Be happy to answer any questions that anybody might have.
Agent Kelly, you first.
Where is Deep Brook from here?
So Deep Brook is, I believe this is it here, and Devin, please chime in if I misspeak, but see these flags here that say TOB, A2, A3, A4, A5, that's the top of the bank. And when Devin was out there flagging it, she flagged the portion of the brook that was closest to the site.
Uh-huh.
So well outside of the proposed limit of disturbance is well outside that 200-foot riverfront area.
Cool. Okay. And what's going on the ground?
Below it, it's a low growth seed mix. So it'll be, sort of similar to the other ones, post construction, it will be a meadow condition. So we're going from a mostly wooded area to what will be predominantly a meadow type situation. Similar to the other presentations that we just heard, mowing is limited, typically a couple times a year. So it gives the grass a chance to establish and, maintain pretty healthy density. Post construction, the visits, aside from mowing, are usually limited to routine maintenance, or if there's any troubleshooting that needs to be done on the array components themselves.
And where is the replication area?
So let me get to that plan. That's a good question. We've got a separate plan that shows that. In a little bit more detail. This is the area here. So this is the closest that we get to, aside from the actual disturbance here, but in the south, this is the replication area that's proposed. So we'll bring, obviously the topography is going to have to change a little bit to be able to bring this wetland finger up and through this polygon to provide, an area, like I mentioned earlier, that's a little bit bigger than a one-to-one replication.
Huh. Okay, and what I saw was 30 trees, 30 shrubs, and 200 ferns. Is that right?
Yeah, let me get to that planting plan. Just going to scroll through this.
There it is.
Yeah, so this is just a zoomed in plan of the proposed replication area along with the proposed plantings and the quantities that are in here.
Great. And there was a mention of using wetland soils. I was wondering where they come from. You just gonna dig them up?
Devin, do you have any thoughts on that one?
Oh, am I unmuted?
No, we can hear you.
Oh, great, excellent. The wetland soils that it discussed in kind of the plan, it's any wetland soils that are maybe dug up as a part of that road construction. They're stockpiled to the side because that's good soil and we'd like to reutilize that. So that gets utilized in the replication area.
I see. Okay.
Hmm.
That makes sense. So is this accessible to, will you be able to water this stuff?
Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me 1 second. My lights went out at the office. Oh, goodness. Watering will not be necessary. They're species that have been designed to survive in the environment that they are proposed in. The grades will be lowered so that they should be at the appropriate hydrological regime for them to survive just fine without watering.
Okay. Well, we watch them for 2 years.
Absolutely.
You know that, right? So,
Yep, there's a monitoring plan attached to the submission. So it details the 2 years of monitoring that would be required. Absolutely. And there's several monitoring data plots that would be installed and monitored throughout those years to ensure vegetation success.
great. Great. Okay.
Yeah, I just pulled up. I won't scroll through the whole thing. I'm sure you can read it, but this is the monitoring plan that was included with the NOI application.
Mhm.
Mr. Bukowski, you might have mentioned it and I was busy jotting notes, so maybe I missed it. So is there a fence going around this? And if so, is it much like we're going to see from the others with 7-foot height and 6 inches underneath?
That's correct. Yeah, there'll be, I'll go back to this one, but yeah, so since there's 3 separate areas of the array, there'll be 3 individual fences, but they'll all be, and the 7-foot high requirement comes from the National Electric Code. And then, that gap of 6 inches can definitely be accommodated to allow turtles or whatever else, needs to pass through. But this line here, which is the dark line with the circles, represents the fence. So there'll be 3 different perimeter fences and 3 different access gates. So one surrounding this one surrounding this one, and then one surrounding the northern one.
Since you're zooming in highlighted stormwater basins, can you talk a little bit more about drainage and collection and discharge of stormwater?
Sure. So because of the change in surface cover, since we're going from, a wooded area to a post-construction meadow condition, and in addition to that, there is some impervious area that's added. They're mostly unconnected impervious because they're driven steel posts. That there's 4. So each of these rectangles represents a single rack or table that holds individual modules. So each one of these has 4 driven posts to it. So that adds some level of impervious area. In addition to that, there are the equipment pads that I mentioned before that have the batteries on them or the transformers. So there is some additional impervious area. So in order to meet the stormwater standards and accommodate that, we've put in these basins, which are designed to contain the water quality volume, as well as provide attenuation for peak runoff rates, so that for all the storm events up to the 100-year event, there's no increase in stormwater flow rate from the BMP locations. This one here will ultimately flow to the east towards this wetland area. The basin up here will flow to the west towards this wetland area, and just skip down to this other one. There are 2 basins here that will ultimately, the water will carry into these, and then this one will discharge to the east toward that wetland, and this one to the west toward that wetland.
Thank you.
And the access roads, are you using paper streets for those?
So this one, yeah, for not entirely. So, my understanding is there were some old plans that were submitted, and that this land was considered for subdivision many years ago. So there is, an old paper road that ran up here and another one that ran up here. What we've made sure we do is that all of the land that we're proposing for the access roads, as well as the arrays, are owned by the Whites. So it's all owned by the same family.
Okay, that makes sense.
Anybody on the commission for questions for anybody from this team?
Yeah, my only concern was the perennial stream up to the north of the project. You said TOBA2 was where Deep Brook was, and you said it was within 200 feet, and all work was within the 200 feet. But that stream goes up further to the northwest through the whole set of woods, correct?
Yeah, let me see if I can pull up a screenshot here. Hold on, I can show you. And this is from a CAD file, but essentially what Devin flagged was the area of the stream that was closest to the array, to show that we're more than 200 feet beyond it. But I can pull a screenshot here that will show where that TOB1 flag was.
You are correct. The stream does run along there. That's correct. It's just more than 200 feet away.
So can you see this little screenshot? Do you see like a
Yeah.
thick red line?
No, we can't, Rob.
Okay. I think this. Hang on 1 second. Let me just stop sharing for a minute and try to reshare that one. Can you see this now?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a screenshot from the AutoCAD file. And this, I can't really zoom in on it because I took this from a snipping tool. But this location up here where I'm moving my cursor, that's TOB1. So this basically goes from here straight down to those other flags that I was showing on the other plan. So you're correct. It does end up going further to the north, but this is the other flag. The only reason we didn't show it is it's because it's the location that we took is beyond the northern extent of where our plans are. But we're definitely well outside of that 200-foot riverfront area.
Yeah.
All right. There's several names on here that are new to commission meetings. I want to open it up to folks if they have questions for our project proponents. Anybody here with questions? Hearing none. Go back to my commission members. Any final questions or comments from you on this?
I think I'm good, Bob.
Okay. And we go back to my agenda here. So you're looking for an NOI on this, notice of intent. So guess we can entertain a motion for a positive order of conditions on this. I don't feel any need for any special conditions. Merrily, do you?
No, I'm concerned about the replication area, but it seems to be covered. So no, I don't think so.
Okay. This would be a pretty complete plan. So I'll entertain a motion for a positive order of conditions for this project as presented.
So moved.
Do we have a second? Thank you, Heidi. Any further discussion? Okay, Ryan, how do you vote?
Yes.
Heidi? That's a yes. Everett?
Yes.
And that's a yes for me. That's unanimous. So thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Happy holidays, everyone.
Same to
too.
you.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, so that's it for hearings on the agenda. Next items are discussion for wetlands bylaw and what the heck's going on here? My computer's freaking out, sorry. So Paul's not here for this part of the discussion, and this is usually his area, so I will table that part of the discussion. But we do have hunting and conservation land here. So, I mean, I haven't done anything since then because I've handed it off for commentary and action and advice from our town administrator. I don't know, Merrily, if you have anything new to report from Julie or from town.
No,
hall.
actually, I haven't brought it up to Julie. She's out sick for the next 2 weeks.
Oh,
But
lucky her.
but I'll make sure I get it on her agenda as soon as she gets back.
Still 8 more days to hunt this year, just saying.
8?
8 more days.
Does that mean 8 more deer?
Oh,
Freezer. You fill that freezer.
My freezer's pretty full, but I could use 1 or 2 more.
All right. I don't know, Ryan, is there anything else you wanted to comment about this? Are we okay until we get feedback from others in the town?
No, we're good. Yeah, I agree. It's we'll let it run its course. The season's over, and it'll give everybody time to notify the public and or whatever needs to happen for next year. Yeah, because that is one thing that I have noticed this year. I was in Mattapoisett yesterday, and there was a lot of dog walkers out, and no orange on, dogs off leashes, like really dangerous situation. it could potentially be a dangerous situation, you know, but we made them aware that there were hunters in the area and they leashed their dogs and they were cool and we were cool with it, you know. But it's just something that people aren't really, they're kind of oblivious to. They're not really aware, you know.
Yeah,
And
it's
that's-
kind of a DCR issue.
Yeah, exactly. It was down Brand Island Road, so you know.
The state of Massachusetts doesn't have any laws about wearing orange during hunting season, except for hunters. State of Rhode Island, you have to wear, I think, 400 square inches orange.
Right, but on wildlife management areas, you are required to leash your dog during hunting season.
They're supposed to be under their control at all times.
Yes, but especially during season.
Really?
Right.
Question, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, Pete.
What happens to all the dislocated, like, larger animals for these solar arrays? Like, where are they gonna go if they can't? Are there a lot of, Ryan, do you know if there's a lot of deer and coyotes
Yeah,
in those areas?
in those areas, there's a large amount of deer. I'm very familiar with those areas. I don't know. I'm not a fan, but
Yeah,
well, this is what am I going to say? You know, it's not my property. It's their property, and
I know.
they
It's
can.
like they're gonna
But
be
yes, it's
running
gonna
the streets.
it's gonna displace a lot of those deer, but it could create funnels for them to travel and new travel routes around the outside, and
Yeah.
you know. But there's a lot of oaks in there. There's a lot of scrub that they bed in, a lot of bedding in those areas. It's not really, you know, so they are going to get relocated. But
Yeah.
there's
Still a large area around it, but I'm just saying, like, I don't know where they're
right. Well, a lot of those deer, they travel across the road, across Middle Road, and they go into the like Weldon Lane area and Hamlin Street and all those other areas too. So
Yeah.
they do like a big loop.
Uh-huh. Cool. Yeah.
Sure. Agent updates, Mary Lee?
Geez. That nobody has really started any trouble. Things have been pretty smooth.
Oh, good.
You know, it seems like solar arrays are the big thing these days. So people are getting their permits, but not able to build until Eversource comes through with it, you know. But otherwise, you know, everybody else seems to be doing what they're supposed to do. Aruda is still tied up with the planning board. They changed the common drive to a subdivision road. So that's coming up again next month, I think. And that's the only one I can think of that's still in process at the moment.
Anything with PJ Keating in the last 2 weeks that relates to us?
PJ Keating has a notice of intent coming in for the next meeting to move that big, huge silt pile in the back. I believe that's what they're gonna do, is move it. So,
Okay.
so that'll be interesting. That should be coming in very soon.
Righto. That's it, Mary Lee, then, for agent updates?
I think so.
Yeah.
Do we have anybody else with business for the commission? Any commission members with business for the rest of us?
Mm-mm.
I'm all
Oh.
set.
Thanks for the card, Mary Lee and Joanne. That was
Yeah.
nice.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, nice.
Merry Christmas.
Yes.
Merry Christmas.
So, let's see. So the next meeting is scheduled for January 12th of 2021. Joanne, you're gonna have to get in the habit of typing 2021 now.
I know. Yeah, it's always a challenge, Bob.
Yeah, that was a problem when you start signing things early in the new year. Keep putting the wrong date, the wrong year. All right, seeing no other business for the commission, I will wish you all a Merry Christmas.
Guys, you too.
You too,
Merry
Bob.
Christmas.
Thank you all for quite a year and for rolling with all that was thrown at us and rolled at us and whatever else happened.
All right.
All right, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Ryan. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned at 7:07. See you on January 12th.
Okay.
All right, guys.
Happy holidays,
Merry
everyone.
Christmas.